Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan, the Michael Jordan Hotels. Today I got Steve with me here, and we're going to be talking about the difference between a hotel restaurant and a restaurant that has to earn its living. This video is being sponsored by the California Investment and Lodging Conference. Go to Click Connect to check out our sponsors and make sure you join me in March. And we got Steve with us today. What's going on, buddy?
Hey man,
Good,
how are you?
Steve.
Good to
Thanks
see
for
you.
coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The number one question I ask everybody is, how did you get started in this crazy business?
Crazy. I grew up in Atlanta and I started washing dishes at 13.
Nice.
So I'm 55 and I'm still here, Bruce.
Oh,
Classic work from I just started busboy, dishwasher, food runner, bartender. Lot of independent restaurants, went to work for Ritz-Carlton, Ginn Resort. So have done both sides of the coin, which I think isn't always the case. You kind of usually either find hotel people or restaurant people. I've never wanted to do anything else. I love hospitality. I love serving others. I love creating experiences. So yeah, I've been doing this. This is the only job I've ever had.
when you first started at a regular restaurant, what was your ideal customer?
I think the ideal customer was someone that was curious and engaged. That they want to know what the food is. This was, in the late 80s, early 90s. So there was no internet, no foodies, no Top Chef, no Instagram. I mean, it was a very different world. But I think the ideal customer is somebody that's open minded
Mhm.
and curious.
Now, the hotel customer is very different from a regular mom and pop shop
Right.
or a fine dining restaurant. Like, what is the difference from the two compared to what you've seen?
Well, I think it's evolving. I think that, traditionally you had the hotel restaurant tucked in the back of the hotel doing 3 meals a day, out of the belief that, well, we have to offer something all the time. I think that was probably the downfall of quality food and beverage in hotels. And what I think now, I would argue that people are starting to book their travel largely around where they're going to eat. I think, restaurants, food, wine, craft cocktails, it's become such a big part of our social calendar. I mean, I would argue that most people probably their night out is not a nightclub anymore. You seem to see less and less of those where it's a cocktail bar and or a restaurant. So I think hotel guests, I think they're starting to get aligned.
Yeah.
And I think that where traditionally you book a hotel, then you look at the restaurants around the city outside of your hotel. If you've got a great restaurant that clearly has its own identity, I think people will stay and eat in the hotel.
Yeah, nowadays, the only club most of us are going to is, Costco or Sam's Club.
That's right. I am definitely, 9 o'clock is a good bedtime for me now.
When it comes to hotel restaurants, back in the day, we used to do things based on occupancy and capture rate.
Right.
Is that something that's still in existence nowadays, or is it even relevant anymore, or
I will tell you in our restaurants, it's not. I mean, we're aware. Okay, we're sold out tonight,
Mhm.
so let's get ready for maybe some extra walk-ins. But I always say we're not opening the hotel restaurant. We're opening a restaurant that happens to be in a hotel,
Mhm.
and that sounds very nuanced, but it's very different psychologically. So when we open a restaurant in a boutique hotel, we're thinking about the local community. Um, sure, we believe hotel guests are going to stay there. I mean, going to eat there, but we're not making decisions driven on occupancy at all.
What are some of the key KPIs that you look at for a hotel restaurant versus a restaurant that's on, hey, right across the street from you guys, like, has that whole outfit?
Well, right now we are seeing 50% of our revenue is food and beverage in our
Nice.
hotel. And I'll say that to some more traditional developers, and They look at me and I'm like, no, I mean, I can show you 4 different hotels who've opened in the last 2 years where, so our KPIs are, I think it's for us at the Indigo Road, it's based in a little bit of history. In other words, we're opening a 120 seat Italian restaurant. We have 7 of those around the Southeast. So we kind of have an idea revenue wise where it should be, profit wise, cost of goods, all of those. So we're more comparing our KPIs to ourselves than necessarily market driven data.
When it comes to the average check, what's the difference versus a hotel or your regular mom and pop shop or fine dining?
I think there's traditionally some wisdom that things are more expensive in hotels. Yeah, and certainly in resorts. Having been an F&B director and some of my other lives at a resort, I think there's a little bit of a captive audience mentality. Um, I think for us, most of our concepts, and we're always doing unique new concepts, but currently most of our concepts are $50 to $60 a person,
Okay.
and that's with alcohol, and that's very intentional. We think that's a sweet spot of approachability.
Okay.
We want our restaurants to be a place you come twice a week. Now we do operate Oak Steakhouse. We have 8 of those. That's $125. So that's a different, but I feel like with steakhouses, Bruce, I mean, if you go to a steakhouse, you kind of know what you're going to spend. I mean, 125 is kind of the national when you look at Del Frisco's, Capitol Grill, whoever.
Yeah.
But for us, I would say the majority of our concepts, approachability is the key driver, and that doesn't change because we're in a hotel. Again, we're looking at the community at large, and we want to make sure we're serving those guests. They're comparing us to their other neighborhood restaurants, and so I think you have to be really sensitive and mindful.
I'm glad you brought up this topic because everybody wants to know why. Why is the plates and the prices so much higher at a resort versus at a regular restaurant?
Capitalism. I mean, I don't, the food costs the same coming in the door. I think it's captive audience. Listen, if you're in a highly seasonal resort, um, I understand the idea that we have 7 months a year to make money, and the other 5 we're holding on and trying not to lose money. Our Skyline Lodge Hotel in Highlands, North Carolina. Highlands is a very seasonal market. It's a mountain resort town. We have an Oak Steakhouse there. Now, I will tell you, we're not priced more expensively than the other Oak Steakhouses, but we make money half the year. So I think in remote resort locations, I can understand it a little bit more. In an urban 365-day a year kind of environment, I can't really come up with why that would be.
Yeah, because this is what's crazy. The utilities, water, like the cost is pretty much built into the hotel
Uh-huh.
versus the guy in the corner. He has to pay rent. He has to go to
All of that.
and is much higher.
Much
So you would think that to get more business, they're like, hey, you know what? We just bring these average checks down a little bit, bring these menu items down a little bit. We'll get more business, but it just doesn't seem to.
That seems to be working for us. That's kind of our whole thesis at the Indigo Road is we want to engage the community when we open a restaurant, not, take advantage of the hotel guests we have.
Yeah, because you could tell when the prices at the hotel restaurant is too high because there's a little DoorDash and Uber Eats running in and out.
And they're going out into the community and finding a decent meal at a good value. Yeah, there's so many, in my opinion, so many of these self-fulfilling prophecies in hotel F&B where people just really get it wrong.
Yeah.
And part of it is over the years, because they're not doing the business, because they didn't put the restaurant in the front of the hotel on the street, market it separately, create its own identity. They go into it saying, well, food and beverage is what we have to do, not what we really want to do. And so they're not very busy. So then they jack their prices up
Mhm.
because they need to maximize revenue. And taking advantage of your customers, to me, it's not a business strategy that I think is fair and equitable.
Or will last very long.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's why so many hotel restaurants are empty.
Exactly. Now, speaking of marketing, what are like the top 3 marketing tips that you could give the audience?
Sure. I think so for restaurants, I think first and foremost, you have to create a very separate identity. So, Osteria Olio, which is our Italian concept in Athens, Georgia, in the Rivet House Hotel. If you're following Osteria on social media, 80% of the posts are not talking about the Rivet House Hotel. I mean, there's acknowledgement, but it's very much establishing its own identity. And I can't stress that enough. Like you really, you know, engaging the local community is a huge marketing opportunity that I see people miss. And then I think telling really authentic stories.
Okay.
I think you've got to do staff spotlights, talk about why your restaurant's different, talk about the local ingredients you're using, the local brewery that you've got on tap. Again, community, community, community. If you're telling that story, I think people are interested. If you're the big brand or you're the out of town hotel restaurant company that's just coming to throw something, it's not interesting.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going into a market where there's already a vibrant food scene.
Mhm.
You know, I always tell our team, like, this city does not need us.
That's
They
right.
already have, we're in Nashville, Tennessee. That's a booming
Yeah.
food market. They don't need us. They're just fine without us. So what can we do to engage? Get involved with the community, hire local people, use local products. And I just think it's about engagement and authenticity.
Nice, nice. Many, many moons ago, I was a F&B controller. And one of the things that used to really pee me off is that they would keep these menu items that aren't selling on the menu for way too long and
Right.
then start creating dead stock and they didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
So what is usually your concept or your philosophy when it comes to 86 in the menu item?
Oh, yeah, we're changing our menus all the time,
No.
all the time. And I always talk to our chefs about, sales are the ultimate report card, right? And chefs are creatives, they're artists. And when art and commerce intersect, sometimes they can get a little tricky. But I always just run a P-mix.
Yeah.
If it's not selling, get it off the menu. But I think what's been more exciting is to create a culture of wanting to try new things and change but yeah, it doesn't matter how good you think a dish is.
Mhm.
If people don't want to eat it, probably need to change.
I know that's right.
you know?
I know that's right. Well, listen, thank you for joining us, Steve. I
Thank
appreciate
you. I
you.
appreciate you.
Tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
Yeah. So the Indigo Road Hospitality Group, we're at www.theindigoroad.com.
All right. And thank you for joining us for another episode. This is Bruce Jordan of Michael Jordan Hotels signing out. This episode was brought to you by the Hotel Revenue Bible, the #1 hotel revenue book that has ever been written. It includes revenue management, digital ads, social media marketing, sales, catering, F&B, and more. Grab your copy today at hotelrevenuebible.com.